Yep. In fact, that's one of the things that I was noting down earlier today, just to kind of summarize my current thinking of beliefs. And the belief leverage was a point that I was planning to touch on. And that there's a related concept, okay, with belief leverage. The way I described it in the Choose to Believe book was that there's beliefs about beliefs. And we can believe that we can, as you say, install a belief and it's permanently installed and it's active from that moment on. That could be called a meta belief, but it's also part of that belief leverage concept. There's this other concept that I realized that I had in the back of my mind for many years, but I've never really articulated it. And that's the idea of pivotal beliefs. And that is, one belief can affect 100 others or 1,000 others. And if you have a few very specific beliefs in place, then it seems like, at least from my experience, it seems that once you have a few specific beliefs in place, everything else, yeah, see if I can talk, everything else in your life just seems to flow. Things like the universe is working to serve me. That is more of a metaphysical belief. But if you believe that life is here for you and that everything just naturally works to your advantage, in your favor, then that belief gets reflected in your experience of life, and it does seem that everything goes your way more often than not. So beliefs like that, beliefs like I am lucky, things always work out well for me, people like me and want to help me with whatever I'm working on. These are the types of beliefs that can be reflected in an experience of, you don't have to do everything yourself. The people around you and the world in general will help you, as long as you don't get in its way, as long as you don't get in their way. These types of beliefs can really be helpful. Another belief is that once you make a decision, whatever it is that you have decided manifests on its own. And this gets into the religious or the spiritual and metaphysical aspect, is if you believe in a divine essence of the universe that responds to your thoughts, then all you have to do is hand over the request, and then whatever you're requesting gets manifested for you, kind of like when you delegate a task to one of your employees and you know that it's done because they're good employees. And sometimes in the role of manifesting, and again, I know I'm talking more in the metaphysical line, but when you can believe in these types of processes, it is amazing how often they work. And that has been my experience over and over and over again. So I can tell you from my own personal experience that this kind of thing actually does work. So I'm not telling you to believe in the metaphysical side of it, so I'm not going to go in there too much, but I'm just kind of pointing out that sometimes these beliefs do tend to be reflected in our experience, and so they can be helpful to at least play with and practice from time to time. But yeah, I came up with a list of 5 different beliefs that I found to be the core pivotal beliefs in my life that seem to redirect the events around me in a way that I don't have to consciously participate as often as I might have in the past. And it also depends on what area you're playing in, what level you're playing on, that type of thing. I mean, you are operating in an environment that is far more complex than anything I ever do. I mean, like you said, 75 employees, at least 3 different businesses, in a technology space. I mean, you're dealing with all sorts of details every which way. And that is quite different from what I do. I mean, sometimes I think that I'm dealing with a lot of details, just considering all the psychological impact of this idea and this kind of practice and that kind of practice, and how do I communicate a message that could be received by 1,000 different people in their own way. But that's a completely different thing from the environment that you're in. So to say that these are the beliefs that impact my life the most, they could be beneficial for you. There may be others that would also be beneficial to you. But I'll just go ahead and list them out, and I'll put them into an email for you afterwards. But the ones that I have identified is the first belief is a belief of self, that I am a co-creator with the divine. I am a creator on this world, that I create the vision, and then the vision manifests. And that type of self-identity does go beyond the idea of I am just a human being. It kind of redefines what it is to be a human being. Because if that spiritual component was not actually a part of who we are as a human being, then it wouldn't be possible. And the fact that it is possible shows that we do have that spiritual side of us that is a part of what it is to be a human being. So that is one belief that definitely makes a whole lot of things in my life a lot easier, just starting with that. And then the second belief that I identified is very closely related to that, and that is the more I go within and focus on that divine essence, like you do in your meditation, even though you don't specifically address it in that way, when you reach that point of silence, when you reach that point of nothingness, you are touching that divine essence within you. And whether you consider that to be your own divine essence or the divine essence of the universe that is intermingled with your essence, I mean, you could look at it a couple different ways. But when we go within and we make contact with that divine essence and we spend time in that divine essence, like you do with your meditation, that gives us more power to influence the world around us. That gives us a stronger connection with the world on an alternate dimension. I mean, if we want to go back to the purely physical scientific view, when we consider that we're only seeing 3 dimensions across time, so time could be considered the 4th dimension. Once we start expanding that into a 5th dimension or a 6th dimension or something else, there are connections between ourselves, other people, and things that we just don't see because they're not within our 3 dimensions. They're in a different dimension, those connections. And so the more we touch into that divine space, that spiritual space, or that non-physical space, however you want to call it, the stronger our connection with the world around us, and so the more influence we have over that world, so the quicker our intentions manifest for us. And so I found that meditation practice to be incredibly valuable for that reason, because the more I go into meditation, the more I acknowledge that connection with the rest of the universe, the easier it is to manifest the different things that I want to manifest into my life. And so that's just, in a way, you can call that a spiritual exercise, but it's something you're already doing. So that was the second belief that I identified as being this really core, pivotal set of beliefs. And then, again, very closely related to the second one, the third one is just a belief that I am in control of my life and the world around me. And this is a belief that I have developed over time, and it is a 100% absolute belief. I know that I'm in control of myself. I know I'm in control of the world around me. When I decide that certain things are going to happen, they do, whether I'm involved or not. And then the whole idea of manifesting is to create a life that we enjoy. And I think I know that there were some of the beliefs that you put down in the email that said that life is to be enjoyed, or something along that effect. Yep. That's the way you phrased it. Okay. So something along that line would be the belief number 4. The way I phrase it is life is a wonderful experience full of joy and satisfaction. So a lot of times I find myself just expressing the idea life is wonderful. It is simply amazing to be in this life. So that type of belief really does influence everything around us. And the more we focus on the idea that life is enjoyable, the more enjoyable things come into our lives. Again, going back to what you were saying about you resonate with certain things, and those things that resonate with in the same way come into your experience. So just the focus on enjoyment. And then the last one is one that I talked about earlier here, is the universe actively serves me and my desires. Another way of phrasing that would be I don't have to do anything and I get everything I want. And everything that I want just happens, whether I do anything or not. It's that type of belief really does influence things on a metaphysical level. And it just happens. I mean, another way of looking at some of these beliefs is that when you are planning to meet with somebody or planning to discuss something with somebody, if you go into it expecting that person to be open to your ideas, if you go into it with the idea that that person is going to be eager to go along with your plans, then it happens more often than not. And if we want to describe this in just physical terms, again, just to acknowledge that when we believe that another person is going to be receptive to what we have to say, most of the time, the tone of our voice, the expressions on our face, the gestures that we make, all these subconscious little clues come across differently. We're more open with ourselves. We're more forthcoming. We come across with greater confidence. And the other person's subconscious mind picks up on all those tiny, subtle clues and responds in a way that, yes, this person can be trusted. Yes, this person believes in what they're talking about. Yes, I can go along with what this person is suggesting. So again, just on the purely physical level, the idea that people are going to be helpful for you comes across in your communication, and they respond in kind. So things can be phrased 1,000 different ways, and it really doesn't matter. It's whatever resonates with you. I know that was one. Yeah, the general idea, that's all that's really important. Yeah, the most important thing is that you resonate with whatever words you use. That was the subject of quite a debate through my email newsletter quite a number of years ago when I was talking about how affirmations could be phrased versus how they should be phrased. And there's a lot of people out there that say there's certain rules with the way you do your affirmations. It needs to be present tense. It needs to be in positive terms. It needs to be first person. It needs to fit all these general rules. And I use the analogy that back when I was first starting with a lot of this stuff, an affirmation that got me out of the deepest, darkest times of my life was, "It's not as bad as I think it is." And there were a lot of people that said, "Oh, that's a terrible affirmation." And my response is, well, it worked. That's the bottom line. It's a matter of, does it work? Does it not work? And really, as long as it works, as long as you resonate with it, then you could use whatever words that make sense to you. So you don't have to use somebody else's words. Related to this whole idea of the pivotal belief structure, the other thing that I would like to bring up, and this I'm not exactly sure how to present it, but here's the basic idea, is that when we try to focus on too many details at the same time, our focus is diffused, our focus is spread across a wide area. And when we need to make a strong impact, either on a given situation or on our life in general, when we really want to focus our power, we really want to focus our mind on a single idea and eliminate all of the little details that are related to that core idea. And that's why I was starting to work with the symbology and the symbolism a few years ago when we were talking before, is to help focus our minds on a single idea, or at least a single symbol that can represent many different ideas without having to try to keep 15, 20 different things in mind all at the same time. I think a lot of what may have happened with you is what also happened with me, and that is the definition of the word symbol. And for most of us, when we think of symbol, we're thinking about like a line drawing, or we're thinking about a logo, or we're thinking about some thing that is disconnected from the reality that it represents. And what I found, at least in my case, that what was the best symbols were things that were actually connected to the event that I wanted to influence. And as an example, the idea of once I set an intention, it is done and I can check it off the list. That idea of checking something off a list is itself a symbol of the idea that something is done, it's already manifested, or at least it is in the process of manifesting. We don't have to think about it anymore. So for me, the symbolism there is just the idea of checking something off the list. My personal process for manifesting a lot of things is just that simple. In fact, the last video that I just posted on YouTube yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was Monday. Was about this same idea. I called it faith anchoring, but it's the same concept, that you define what it is that you want to manifest within your mind, and then you basically put a stamp on it that, okay, this is done, this is real. And that putting a stamp on it is, well, I went into some NLP concepts without actually talking about NLP concepts. The basic idea of this is that if you think of something you know to be an absolutely true statement, like right now you're sitting in your office, you're sitting in your chair, these are absolutely true statements. And if you think about how you feel about these true statements and compare them to statements that are not so true, like, okay, your business is failing. I mean, that would be an absolutely false statement. And if you go into just any kind of false statement, I don't really know what would be the best ones to use for you right now. Or, okay, I'm sitting on planet Mars right now. Things that are absolutely false versus things that are absolutely true. And if you focus on one, then focus on the other, then go back and forth a couple of times, you will notice how your mind represents the two ideas differently. Things that are true will have a different feeling to them than things that are false. And there's the different modalities, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, all those kind of different things. For me, things that are true feel like they have greater weight. They feel like they're lower in space than something that's not true, which would be higher in like a puff of smoke kind of thing. Those are things that represent truth and falsehood within my mind. And so when you can identify those characteristics between ideas that are true and things that are false, then when you want to install a new belief, you basically decide, okay, this is the way things are going to be. And then you put that into the same space, give it the same characteristics as things that you already know to be true. And so for my mind, if I want to, let's say I want to manifest a particular type of weather. We went to England 2 years ago, and I keep hearing England's cloudy, England is gloomy, England is cold and rainy most of the time. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to get good pictures. I want it to be sunny. I want it to be halfway warm. So I'm visualizing, we're in England, we're in London, we've got clear blue skies. And so I visualize that, and then I just simply give it that feeling of it's lower within my space and it is solid. It is in place. And that is the process of manifesting for me. It's just I think about what I want, I decide that it's going to happen, and I put it into that space, give it those characteristics of things that are true, and that locks it in. And it only takes a few seconds to do. And the whole idea, like you say, Shaki Gawain and the creative visualization, the idea behind creative visualization, and in fact the harmonic prayer process that I've been teaching for the last few years, is you relax, you go within, you make that connection with the divine, and then you imagine the end result you want to manifest. And it can be as simple as just visualize one scene that represents the goal has been reached. For a lot of people, they might see their checkbook with a certain balance in there, or they could visualize walking down the aisle in a wedding ceremony if a relationship is their goal, or they could visualize themselves out playing tennis if a health goal is their aim, and they just imagine something that could only happen once the goal has been realized. And then by focusing on that end result is the symbol that represents the entire process getting to that point. And so as far as like installing different beliefs and that type of thing, linking the idea to a mental experience of how that idea could be realized, that helps lock it in a little bit further. I think that the ultimate answer to that is it really depends on your level of belief in the process itself. The way I've been describing it lately is that the more you're a beginner in this whole realm, the longer you want to spend in that, and so the more you would want to be in the movie, as you're saying it. You want to experience it as if it is your current reality. Like you said, driving down the road, the wind in your hair, the steering wheel in your hand, feeling the vibration of the road underneath the tires, all of the sound of the engine. You want to bring in as many details as you can, especially when you're starting out, when you are not yet to the point where you can just simply make the decision and trust that it's going to happen. The further along that pathway you are, the more you can shortcut the process. And so there are some things where I can just simply visualize that still image and say, okay, this is what I want, it's done. And then there's other things where I feel like I need a little bit more work to shift those beliefs, where I will spend more time imagining that whole experience as if it were happening right now. And I'm right in the middle of it. The way I've been describing it lately is that this process creates new memories within our minds. And the more often we create new memories that support the desired outcome, the more our beliefs are strengthened, because for most people, in normal living, our beliefs come from our experiences. And so the more experiences we have of a particular type of outcome, the more we believe it's going to happen, because if we've experienced it before, we can always experience it again. Basically, my process could be described as watching a movie on fast forward. I visualized myself doing a process to change the belief, and then I visualized an outcome that matched the belief I went to change. And to be completely honest and transparent with you, this was back in the late 80s, and at that time I didn't really understand the power of belief the way I do now. And so my focus was on this concept of energy, this concept of universal power, this concept of magic. And so I visualized myself having this energy flowing through me, and I visualized sending the energy out and the energy changing things in the world for me. And so that was the thing I actually visualized, but now I understand things a little bit differently, and I would call that a symbol of what I wanted. The idea of sending energy out was a symbol of using this non-physical system, whatever it is, whether it's energy, whether it's thought, whether it's vibration, whatever it is. I was interpreting that as energy at that time. And so that was my symbol for the process of making a decision and the decision manifesting. So again, I used a symbol that made sense to me at that time. Now I would use a different symbol, a different process. And so I would suggest whatever process you are already doing to change the beliefs or to set those intentions, whatever process you want to do, visualize that you're doing that process, and then visualize that the process works and you get the results you're looking for. And so that will give, obviously, the more detail you can get into, the stronger of an impression it makes within your mind, within your subconscious mind, the stronger the memories are that will shape that belief that you can go through this process and see results happen as if by magic. Essentially, yeah, you're manifesting a process of manifestation, if you want to call it that way, or as we're talking about with the beliefs, you're creating a belief that will influence how you create future beliefs. So yeah, there are times when I feel like I have a belief that certain things will work out a certain way, and then I get into the situation and it doesn't work out the way I expected. So the first thing that I do in that situation is I recognize that there was belief work that still needed to be done, whether it was a new belief that I didn't address or if there was a belief that I thought had been changed that wasn't changed as far as it needed to be changed. Essentially what I do, how I respond to that. Let's find an example, because I think this will work better as an example. Okay, let's say that there's a particular event that I am a tech support for. Usually with, I'm part of an organization called the Coptic Fellowship. They do weekly events that they have different speakers for, and I'm usually the person recording them with video and handling the audio side of things. So I go into these things and I tend to believe that everything's going to work smoothly, everything's going to work according to plan. And every once in a while we get in there and somebody's forgotten their notes, or someone forgot to bring a laptop, or there is an issue with a piece of equipment. Obviously, I deal with the situation as it is in the moment, and I just have to go with it. After it's done, then I might spend a little extra time thinking about the next event or the next whole series of events. Let's say from this point on, every event, and I just refocus my mind and say, okay, these events are going to go smoothly. I'm going to make them go smoothly. Everything is going to go according to plan. The speakers are going to be prepared. The equipment is going to be working. And I just spend a little extra time reinforcing the key beliefs behind the experience that I want. And I don't really spend a lot of time looking for, okay, what belief did I miss? Because again, coming back to this idea of the pivotal beliefs, if you believe that the experience will go well, then any other belief that's related to that will get that energy from that one central belief and will be adjusted automatically by my subconscious mind. So I don't have to deal with all the details. I just deal with the central focus. And it, again, if you want to compare it to your business, I mean, you have a vision for where your business is going. You have people who are working to implement your vision. And you don't have to take care of all of their details. You just give them a general plan, and then they work out a lot of the details on their own. And your subconscious mind's the same way. You give it a general direction, a goal, something that you want to ensure happens, and you say, okay, do this for me. And your subconscious mind will say, okay, well, in order for this to happen, we need to change these 15 other beliefs to support this objective. So that also gets into a belief of trusting your subconscious mind to do the right thing in the situation. For the most part, I don't really worry about having that always 100% thing. And this could be a difference in personalities. I've never been a person that needed to be the top one. I never felt like I needed to have 100% result on anything. If it was close enough, it's close enough. That's good enough for me. That not necessarily going to be true for everybody. There are some people, and you might be one of them, that you're not going to be happy until you get that 100% success. And it can be kind of a badge of honor if you can get that 100%. And I would say there's absolutely nothing wrong with focusing on the all the time 100%. This always happens. It's this way every single time. There's absolutely nothing wrong with focusing on that, because the stronger that belief, the more often it will happen. Yeah, my understanding of this, and I recognize this is going to be important, so I do want to interrupt you on this. My understanding, or at least my viewpoint on it, is that beliefs 100% represent or influence our reality. Our reality is a direct 100% perfect reflection of what we believe. Now, I may not understand all of my beliefs. I may not be aware of all of my beliefs. And if reality appears to conflict with beliefs that I am aware of, then I assume that there are other beliefs within my system that are responsible for that difference. And so I 100% without a doubt believe that my reality is a direct reflection of what I believe, without any question, without any exception at all. The idea of intention is probably where I was coming at this differently than where you were, because when you intend something, that's a decision that may not necessarily be related to your beliefs. Your beliefs and your intention are two different things, even though they can very definitely be related. Belief is a piece of information stored within your memory. An intention is a decision that may or may not be based on belief. I mean, most people who get into manifesting, they believe that life is difficult, life is a struggle. They believe that things don't always work out well for them, but they may set an intention that they're going to win a lottery. It's like, okay, well, you have that intention, but do you really believe that it's going to happen? And that was one of the primary focuses behind that Choose to Believe book, is that most people have intentions that may or may not be supported by their beliefs. And when you really get down and analyze your beliefs, you may find that they differ from what your intentions are. And so if you do find that difference, then it's something that needs to be changed. And so that's kind of the difference between intention and belief, at least in my mind. A belief is what you expect, what you know about the world around you, what you know about situations. An intention is a plan to change, or an intention to create a particular outcome that doesn't currently exist. I mean, I intend to have dinner tonight. It doesn't exist currently. I believe that I will have dinner, so it is an intention that is related to a belief, but it is still a separate thing. We've gone through to look if there's anything that you've missed. I don't think there's anything you've missed, although there are some opportunities for new ways of approaching the task of manifesting your objectives. And the summary of that is you don't really have to worry about every single belief. Just focus on the core beliefs, the pivotal beliefs related to the experience you want, and focus on those as much as possible. Reinforce those as much as you can, and let the lower level beliefs, the subordinate beliefs, take care of themselves. That's probably the primary thing that I found in what we're talking about here. As far as customizing my material to your unique situation, I think you've got a good process of working, so I think you've already got that covered. I don't think I need to help you with that at all. There's a few other little details here that I don't think we really need to worry about. The I guess the only other things that I could see, the benefits that I could bring, one is the inspiration factor, just the knowledge of what I've been able to accomplish with the power of belief, and how the metaphysical side of it can work, can give you some new information and give you some additional reinforcement on that side of the equation. But I don't necessarily have to do that in a coaching capacity. I mean, I could do that just with some of the different things that I do through the YouTube channel, through the website. It's up to you if you want to get more detail into that respect. The last thing that I came across was the whole idea of accountability and regular check-ins to see, okay, how are you doing with this? What kind of work have you been doing on that project? Have you been putting in the time? But honestly, you are so well organized and you have such a process, I don't think that's going to be of immense value to you either. So basically, the way I see it is I'm here to answer any questions you might have, as far as, okay, I'm doing this, I tried this, I got that kind of result, what did I do wrong? Or what could I have done better? Or something along that line. And now that I understand your personality and your way of working, I think I could probably be even better at responding to those questions than I have been in the past. If you think that it could work through email, I'm happy to do that. I don't necessarily charge for email support. I mean, that's just something I enjoy doing. And if you think email works, then I'm happy to do that. If you want to have a more interactive conversation like we're doing here, then we can do another coaching session for that.